Yay! I made it work. I take 2 weeks off, and I forget how to actually operate things. Welcome to the Wasted Talent. Actually, this might change. We might have a little bit of announcement, or a small announcement later on at the end of the show. So I'm excited about this. But welcome to the Wasted Talent. I am Josh Beard. He is Sean Bajani. Joining me tonight, a special guest. You can find me at Josh Beard Radio on Twitter. You can also go to youtube.com/Josh Beard to find this. This is where I mostly stream out at and all cool stuff like that. And you can find me, I think I'm Tooth Pete on Instagram. I don't know. I can't ever remember what my I am Tooth Pete. Cool. You know better than me. That's real bad.
Who can forget that?
I don't know. I can't remember if it's ever. I can't ever remember if it's JB Radio or if it's Tooth Pete, because it used to be JB Radio, but then it got deleted and now it's Tooth Pete. Shut up. Leave me alone. Sean, you can find Sean at Sean Bajani on Twitter. Is it at Sean Bajani on Instagram as well?
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have a Grindr, or do you have a Tumblr account or anything like that? What?
Sorry, what?
I'm just wondering if you had any other social media accounts that people could go to. I'm just trying to throw things out there.
I thought
Sean,
Grindr was a dating app.
What? I didn't. I said Tumblr. What do you? That's all I said was Tumblr. What are you talking about? Sean and I haven't gotten to do a show in a long time since the last time he was on Wasted Talent, and then I had to miss a week. Since I did the show with Clanton, which kind of sucked because I was ready to go last week and stuff kept coming up. But we're back and we're going strong, and this is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. We've got some great topics. We're going to talk about the Astros and the playoffs. We're going to talk NFL stuff, namely the Vontaze Burfict suspension, which honestly I don't know why we're going to talk about that, because I don't even know if I've completely decided what my feeling is on that, although I'm leaning strongly one way. We're also going to talk about, what was the other thing? Yeah, Bill O'Brien and the fucking Texans. I want to talk about that because for some reason there are still people that trust Bill O'Brien to make good decisions in a game. Like I want to talk specifically about the weird trust about in-game Bill O'Brien. We'll talk about California paying college athletes, and then there's a lot of other stuff that we're going to get into as well. But We'll kick it off with the Astros going into the playoffs. And, well, actually, no, you know what we're going to kick it off with? With Sean. How are you doing, friend?
Thanks, man. I'm good.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you, I had a chance to listen to you in Clanton. What was it, like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago?
It was 2 weeks ago to the day, yeah.
Yeah, y'all did a really good show then. And I check in with you guys, from
thanks, man.
Pretty much every week, man, because you're sometimes one of my sources for sports. Because I'm coaching.
That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying.
I'm coaching football like every day now. It's that time of year, and I only have like 4 or 5 more weeks of football season left. But like when it's football, it like totally consumes my day. So I get home and I check this out, and I got a whole bunch of other stuff. I listen and read. I'm just catching up.
Yeah, you just need to tell everybody that. Be like, whoa, just this Josh Beard guy that I used to work with. He's some fat weirdo that called me old all the time, but he knows his shit, man. You should watch him more.
Beard, your source for Houston sports.
I'm not gonna lie. If it hadn't been 2 weeks since the last show, I was dangerously close to canceling tonight because I downloaded Call of Duty Mobile on my phone. And I was just sitting on the couch watching Thursday Night Football and playing Call of Duty Mobile. And I was like, man, there's a large part of me that doesn't want to get up right now, but I decided against it.
I figured you'd pull some shit like that. Like, yeah, I really wasn't going to do this show. So I was like, yeah, fuck it. Let me call Sean.
That is not why I called you. No. I'll call you to cancel? No. That's the thing is having somebody on the show with me keeps me from canceling the show. Literally the only, probably 90% of the reason why I'm not sitting on my couch right now playing Call of Duty Mobile is because it's like, fuck, I asked Sean to do the show with me.
So like it's better to let 2 people down potentially versus just yourself.
Yeah, exactly. If I let myself down, like what's the worst that happens? People start forgetting about me faster. Like since I stopped working at Sports Radio 610, obviously people have been forgetting about me slowly and over time, but it's just expedites the process of people forgetting about me if I just don't do the show and I just cancel. That's kind of how that works. Which by the way, I'm almost to 2,000 Twitter followers. I'm getting dangerously close to 2,000 Twitter followers.
How far away are you? I saw you like at 1930 when you were asking for 2,000 last week.
Yeah, I'm at 1943. I only need 57 more. And here's the deal. The offer's still on the table. If I get to 2,000 followers, I will chug 6 to 10 Mango White Claws wearing my Ain't No Laws When You're Drinking Claws t-shirt. I will do that. I don't think people are taking that serious. Sean, you need to tell people right now that I will absolutely do that if they help get me to 2,000 followers. People don't realize that I have look, I have a concern for 3 things in my life. My wife and both of my kids. Those are the only 3 things I have concern for. But my own
up and dying is not one of them.
Right, exactly.
2 of them.
I have no concern for my mental or physical well-being. My motto is anything for the bit. So whatever I have to do to make people like me more, I will do that because I have an obsession with people needing to like me. Are you dipping on my show right now?
Take a huge shot. Yeah, I am.
Dude, don't. I'll throw up. You know how I couldn't even do that. I did the pouches before, and those made me want to throw up. I will instantly puke if you made me dip in my mouth.
I wish this made me want to throw up, but I like it too much.
You know the bet that we had that we doubled down on when we were on. I need to bring this up real fast before we dive into our topics. But we had a bet last year during the NFL season that the Browns would be the best receiving core in the NFL. That went sour. But the worst part about it is we did double or nothing this year before the season started. And I don't feel very good about that at all. I felt very strongly about it.
Congratulations to you for actually remembering that.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have brought it up, but I can't.
You shouldn't have, because I forgot we made another bet.
What was the bet? Like, what we need to put stakes before this show's over tonight. We need to put stakes on that bet. So, chat, everybody that's watching, whether you're watching on Twitch, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, come up with what the payoff for that bet should be, because I think before it was I'll shave my head. I'm absolutely not doing that. I will not. I've been growing this. I know it's not great. Like, everybody take a look at this. All right, I know my hair is not it's not beautiful hair, but that took me like 4 years or 3 years to grow out. So that shit's not getting shaved off because I am a balding widow's peak motherfucker, and I need to keep my hair. But y'all help come up with a bet payoff, because that needs to happen.
What's wrong with that? You used to cut it tight like that.
Yeah, I used to. I've worked real hard to have hair, and I won't have it for much longer. So
Hey, I give you like big time props for that too. Like I've had my head shaved for 15 years, and I don't even know why I did it. I just got tired of paying for haircuts, I guess. But I will never. My wife tries to get me to do it all the time. Grow your hair back out. That's how she met me, is with long hair, pretty much as long as yours. And I can never do that. So props to you for going through like that awkward stage.
Dude, is the worst.
For 3-4 months, 5 months, whatever it was.
Like, well, my hair grows slower, so it was like 9 months. My awkward stage was
really?
like, it was like 8 or 9 months of awkward, and I go back and look at pictures, and I'm like, oh, I can't go back to that. If I shave my head again, it's just, that's it for the rest of my life. My head's just
to be able
shaved
to do something
forever.
with your hair. It took 9 months. Like,
yeah,
move it around, like gel it some way.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, so I've gotten to the point now where my hairstyle, which I call a quiff, by the way, actually that's what it's called. But my when I do my hair, it takes me about 5 minutes or less now. So, you should be proud of me for that. All right, let's dive into the first topic. And our first topic is the Houston Astros going into the playoffs. Obviously, they're going to play Tampa Bay. I didn't expect the A's to lay down and die the way they did last night. But Tampa Bay was just, you could tell that there was one team clearly wanted it more than the other one. Or maybe not wanted it more, but one team was prepared to take it more than the other one, and that was Tampa Bay. And to have a guy come off of the 60-day DL and just immediately step out and make an impact like that was absolutely insane. And I was scared of the Astros facing the A's. I much rather wanted them to face the Tampa Bay Rays. That hasn't changed at all. I'm so happy that Tampa Bay went out over the A's. And I've heard people talk about Tampa Bay they're terrifying now. You should be afraid of them because of their pitching staff. And it's like they're fucking forgetting that we have the two guys that are vying for the Cy Young this year. Like,
you got three really good guys.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, their pitching staff is good, but I'm pretty confident in ours too. So I'm not too worried about it. But the A's, for some reason, all year, the Astros just struggled against them. So I'm so happy that they're playing Tampa Bay tomorrow. So happy.
Yeah, I mean, people kept asking me, like, who are you rooting for? And I gave them no answer because I legit, this time of year, become the most superstitious motherfucker I know, and I refuse to say, oh yeah, the Rays or the A's for a number of reasons, because it's careful what you wish for. Mm-hmm. I didn't want the Astros to face the A's because in recent months, the A's have played the Astros very, very well, whether it be in Oakland or at Minute Maid Park. That just, unfortunately for the Astros, became an all too entertaining season series for me. And then, look, I guess from like a drama standpoint and, getting a couple of dudes that know each other, Charlie Morton to face a bunch of his guys, his former team, like that would be cool.
Yeah.
But I don't want to see that. It's just like Garrett Cole said, what was it like? What was today? Thursday? He said it earlier this week, I believe, when asked about facing Charlie Morton, how cool it would be. Yeah, it'd be cool, but not when like the games mean the most, there's the most on the line. Yeah, he wants to pitch against the guy when like some meaningless game number 55 during the regular season. That's cool.
Yeah.
Pitching when your season's on the line, not so cool because they're both very, very good and capable of knocking one or the other out. The Rays scare me because they're pitching, dude. I mean,
yeah, they
Blake
definitely
Snell, Glasnow, and Morgan.
Yeah.
That's really good too.
They're definitely scary, but didn't the A's scare you just a little bit more? Just from an all-around team, and it just seemed like they had the Astros figured out perspective. Like it almost seemed like every time the Astros started to get on a roll, the A's waltzed into town, or they had to go play them in Oakland, and they would stop a streak. But so if you go to Climbing Talus Hill, I went and found this earlier today. Climbing Talus Hill has a really, really good article that they put out today by Jason Lyons, and it shows the matchup between it's like a preview for the ALDS, the matchup between Tampa Bay and the Astros. And if you look at the Astros, just at their starting rotations, like the Rays have 796 strikeouts to the Astros 1,063. The A's are allowing batting averages at 230. The Astros are allowing 218. Like my fear with the Rays pitching staff is definitely there because they're all very, very good. But those fears are just they're taken away just a little bit because the Astros pitching staff is better. Now, I mean, it could be a thing where Tampa Bay, they get the win yesterday, they come out tomorrow, and it's just they have the momentum and they're on a roll. But the Astros pitching staff this year, their starting rotation is so damn good, at least the top three, is so damn good that I don't feel like not mediocre, but like that a wild card team with momentum is even good enough to beat them. Really, honestly, there's only two teams in all of Major League Baseball that scare me, and that's the Yankees, that they're going to have to play them in the ALCS, and then that's the Dodgers if they make it to the World Series. Those are the only two teams that scare me because those are the only teams that whose bats I really, really fear against this rotation. So,
Twins are good too. Twins are good.
Yeah, the Twins are good too, but I'm not afraid of the Twins pitching. Like the Dodgers and the Yankees pitching combined with their lineup scares me enough, but the Twins, I don't know why the Twins batting just or the Twins pitching just doesn't scare me, but the Twins batting definitely scares me. But I agree.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say I agree. Just in terms of like well-rounded clubs, you know, the Yankees and Dodgers are right up there with the Astros in terms of like, you know, pick your poison up and down the lineup and. You know, they're going to mow you down, you know, with their pitching staff. But the Twins, man, and that was earlier in the year, like way earlier in the year, but the Twins played the Astros pretty good. It was a really entertaining series between those two. And they can hit the home run ball with anybody. And I do worry about, like, I have all the confidence in the world in the Astros sending Justin Verlander to the hill as they will tomorrow.
Right.
But the dude gives up home run balls. And the Astros, as potent as their bats are, we've seen it a number of times this year. And in a number of Justin Verlander starts, he gives up the home run, and it's pretty difficult sometimes for the Astros to scratch some runs across the plate. And with Tyler Glasnow on the hill for the Rays, I look at what he's been doing in Astros. If you've noticed, like, I think it's over his last 3, 4, maybe 5 outings, he's been like an opener, you know?
Right.
He'll pitch 2, 3 innings. I think the most he's gone in the last month has maybe been like just over 4 1/3 or something like that. Maybe he pitched into the 5th. I'm not sure. But his number's really impressive. So I don't know if they're planning on using him similarly tomorrow. But if Verlander gives up a solo homer in the first and a 2-run shot in the second or the third, and the Astros are just having problems hitting Glasnow, that's the kind of thing that worries me. Not about losing a series, but it's about losing a game.
Right.
And I don't want the Astros, nobody does, to go to Tampa, a place that they routinely do not hit well in. Forget about pitching, they just don't hit well. If the Rays are able to steal one at home and Verlander's not the, you know, mow him down 12 strikeout type ball game that we're all thinking and hoping and predicting that he will have, that worries me, you know. And I guess it's like Garrett Cole and Verlander and I think even AJ Hinch, they've all said it to this point. The postseason's a coin flip, and that's what's so great about it. Yeah,
and the thing about Verlander allowing home runs is he really only allows those solo shots, though.
You're right.
Yeah, he doesn't. It's not. It's never really a situation where there's going to be 1, 2, or let's say bases are loaded where he's going to allow like multi-run home runs. It just doesn't happen. So if he gives up 1 or 2, to the Rays, that'll concern me. It's going to suck. But I mean, we've seen the Astros in the playoffs, right? And the only way that they got knocked out of the playoffs last year is because they started slumping at the wrong time, which could happen again, but that's not something that the Red Sox did to them. The Astros themselves just started slumping. And then there were injuries, like Altuve wasn't right going in that Red Sox series. So
yeah, he was injured. Yeah.
The only things that are going to derail them are things that they can't control. It's health. And it's just it's slumps, but they're healthy except for one person in particular. It seems like they're fairly healthy, Correa. And they've exactly. It's definitely Correa, and they've got a better team this year than they did last year. So the Rays don't scare me. They really don't. I know the game's at 1:00 tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 1 o'clock.
I'm calling this game. It's gonna be like, I'm gonna say 8-2. I'm gonna say 8-2 Astros. Yeah, like I really think the Astros come out, they put their foot on the gas, and they put their foot on the Rays' throat, and they just show why they've been so dominant and show why they're the favorites, not just in this series, but one of the favorites to win it all. I'm not going to say it's an automatic win. There's definitely a chance that they don't win, but I'm going to say 8-2 Astros. I feel confident going into this Rays series, and I hope I'm not wrong. I really hope not, because if I'm wrong, I don't mind being wrong. What I do mind is that everybody's going to come back and look at this moment on this show, and they're going to blame me if the Astros lose the game tomorrow because I jinxed them and they're overly You know what? Honestly, the only way people are going to find out about it, too, is if the Astros come out and lose, you're going to go on Twitter and be like, see, Josh, this is your fault because you said that they were going to win 8-2, you asshole.
I'm the jinx. I'm the jinx.
Why are you the jinx?
Well, legit, 4 out of the last 7 or 8 ball games that I've covered.
You're not allowed to cover any of these games then. I know you got
I'm covering tomorrow's game.
I know you got approved for. Go ahead.
I've tweeted little nuggets out, throughout the game that might have been a little too, I don't know, insistent on a probable outcome of the game, and it's blown up in my face. And our former producer Brandon Porter, my current producer when I actually work up there, he tweets out at me all the time, dude, you're a jinx. And I am. I believe in this stuff. The saying no hitter when there's a no hitter.
Why would you even say that now? Just hearing you say it, there's no hitter going on right now, but you just saying those words, it just makes me feel
even take the
weird.
blame. I'll even take the blame for Greinke not getting it done the other night in his last start, because I was just, sometimes I get in a zone. You ever get in a zone
all the time,
especially when I'm masturbating. Into a ball game.
Oh, baseball. Oh, my bad.
You're so into a ball game that you start thinking of things and you do research. And I'm tweeting all kinds of stuff out throughout the game about pitching and what he's doing, what the Astros have done. The first, Will Harris's immaculate inning the other night.
Right.
I'm tweeting all this stuff out. Well, Greinke's about to throw a freaking no hitter, and I look back. And as I'm literally preparing my tweet, anticipating he finished this no-hitter, I just noticed that if Greinke would have got done, it would have been 6, but the last 5 no-hitters in Major League Baseball have all come via the American League West, if you look at it.
Really?
And I was looking at not just that, but the number of current and former Astros that have pitched no-hitters over the course of the last 15. There was a bunch of those dudes, too. I think 6 or 7. Greinke would have been the 6th or 7th guy. And it was just all these little things stacking up. And I had, little fun facts full of tweets. And then, bam, Merznick dives, and he misses it. And then it's just I did it again. I've just got to stop. So I will not be active on social media tomorrow. I'm going to leave that up to Adam Spillane during the game, who's covering it with me as well. I'm just going to write the post-game story. So whatever happens, happens. I will not have any hand in this.
You know what? That means you're a 2%er. You're a 2%er Astros fan. You got to be involved. Just stop putting the negative energy out there, man. Stop putting that negativity out there. The problem is you thinking it is what's making it happen. You don't even need to say it out loud. You don't even need to tweet it. It's just you thinking it.
I'm a pessimistic son of a bitch when it comes to this stuff, man. I really am. It's my superstition creeping in. Here's a little more pessimism for you.
Oh, God.
And I'll just raise this question,
okay.
Because you're talking about how confident you are in this ball club.
Super confident. I'm not going to say.
Super confident.
I'm not going to say that
8-2 win tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that they're my horse in this race, because every time in the history of me saying that, my horses always lose the race. And and not even just horse racing. I'm like, Kentucky and March Madness, they're my horse in this race. Or, the Dallas Cowboys against the Green Bay Packers, they're my horse in this race. And then I lose in spectacular fashion every single time, where it's just mind-numbingly stupid fashion. And so I'm not going to say that they're my horse in this race, but I am definitely overly confident.
Justin Verlander's, look, baseball players, athletes, they're all creatures of habit.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Verlander's had an extra day of rest. He's last pitched on the 28th. He's pitching tomorrow. uh, he's a guy who you don't want to mess with his routine.
Right.
And I just wonder how sharp he's going to be. Maybe the extra rest, maybe just him turning it up a notch, maybe getting Greinke this season before the trade deadline was a shot in the arm. And he said it, when that deal happened, hey, we're really doing this. The clubhouse was lit. It was awesome. And maybe that's just kind of been that extra gear he needs, and he's able to kind of push through. But with a guy who's so systematic and robotic even in his day-to-day, in his mental and game preparation, I think you look at this stuff a little bit closer when it comes to playoff baseball. I also think that one of the other major concerns, not Carlos Correa, but the Houston Astros bullpen. Mm-hmm. You tell me who you're uber confident in going into tomorrow's game if, in fact, Verlander's only able to give you 5 innings or 6 innings. Who do you feel great about that's able to come in and give you big-time, important innings and middle relief and be a 7th and 8th and 9th inning guy, shut him down, let's go up 1-0?
I didn't look, and I probably should have done this, but did the Astros release their playoff roster or their ALDS roster yet?
I haven't seen anything official.
I hadn't seen anything this afternoon. Last thing I see is from 5 hours ago, ALDS roster decisions are coming down to the wire. Here's the thing. They're only going to have 4 starters.
I know Hinch didn't comment on Urquidy or Miley, who's going to be his number 4.
I feel confident in one of those 2 guys coming out of the bullpen. Honestly, I don't care either one, and then that's another discussion too. Is who would you rather have as that 4th starter? And I know Urquidy's been better lately, but for me, I would still take Miley as the 4th starter.
Why?
I don't know.
Everybody says that.
Gut,
I don't understand.
It's just a gut feeling. I just feel it makes me feel better. And that's why I'm not AJ Hinch, and that's why I'm not a fucking MLB manager, because I would make every decision based off of what makes my butthole pucker less. And for some reason, the idea just saying Urquidy's the 4th starter just makes me nervous. But if he's the 4th starter, I feel really, really good about Wade Miley being in the bullpen. I feel really, really good at that. So maybe that's the play. And Wade Miley can be your bullpen guy and be kind of the one guy that you trusted as a starter through the season that can come and really, really give you some really good innings as a reliever. And so for me, it's if they don't, I have a feeling they're going to go with Urquidy, right? And Miley's going to end up being the one that's the odd man out, but then he's still going to get innings. So I feel good about him.
I don't feel good, and if you do it that way, I don't feel great, I'll say it like that. I don't feel great about putting 2 guys in a position in which they've not been in a very long time.
That's fair.
Miley pitching out of the pen in big-time games that, when your season's on the line. Mm-hmm. And in Urquidy, making a big-time start in the season if it comes down to that. It probably won't come down to that in the ALDS, but if you make it to the ALCS, this could become an issue. Mm-hmm. And that's when that start becomes super valuable. I had the same kind of problem last year with the Astros when they used Josh James out of the pen.
Right.
When they used Ryan Presley out of the pen. Presley was very, very good during the regular season. You love that pickup. There's no question. Mm-hmm. But it was different in the sense that in 2018, you had to do something based on your depth chart that you didn't have to do in 2017. And that's put guys on the big stage, and you're asking them to be big-time ball players.
Right.
You had dudes that were used to the postseason experience, that had been there, done that. And, failed in 2015. A number of those Astros that pitched in 2017 on their World Series run, failed in 2015 against the Royals. Mm-hmm. Understood what that was what that tasted like, and fought through the 16 season, fought through the 17 season. They understood what that postseason run was all about. Last year, you had a couple of 3 guys that it was new to them, and you put them on the big stage. I'm confident in Josh James this year coming out of the pen, especially given his last 3-4 outings with the production that he's had. He's
looked really good.
Down guy.
Yeah, he's been doing that the last few games that he's gone out. He's looked really good.
just real quick on this Urquidy and Miley point.
Who would you choose before you go to that point?
I'm going. Who would I what?
Who would you choose to be the fourth starter?
Urquidy.
Okay. Even though it makes you nervous that he'd be starting in a big game, which is something
it makes me nervous to a degree, and I think that's fair. I just think that's an inherent thing, and I think if AJ Hinch was being completely honest with you, look, he'd have like the bubbly guts, about.
I get bubble gut all the time, man. I eat tons of cheese and pork rinds.
But isn't it about what you've done for me lately? And Miley in his last 4 or 5 outings has not been himself.
Right.
He's not. It's not even that he's been terrible. Like once he's pitched into the 5th inning, once, and that's not what you need, especially given the assumption that you're going to heavily rely on guys in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, because Tampa Bay will make Verlander work. Tampa Bay will make Garrett Cole work. They're not going to have 15 strikeout games. I'm really not anticipating that. There's some very smart professional hitters, and you ratchet up the competition, the preparation, it all ratchets up. I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow if you see Justin Verlander pitch a very effective game, but use a lot of pitches to do so, and struggle to get out of the 5th inning. I really wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised to see something similar to Garrett Cole. So you've got to have the mind how taxed your bullpen arms are going to be. And if you're not very confident in sending a guy out there that can't give you 5 innings, and you're going to have to look to Brad Peacock or to Josh James or to Framber Valdez to give you meaningful middle relief innings, or put guys in position that they're not used to being in and getting outs in the 6th or the 7th inning they're not used to having to get, I think that's a problem. You don't change systematically the way that you manage on a whim when games are this big and valuable. You have to go with what's got you there, what's worked. And as of late, Urquidy has looked like a guy who is extremely poised. His very first start, dude, I don't know if you remember.
Oh, I remember. I definitely remember his very first start.
He hit a couple of guys.
Yep.
He walked a couple of guys.
It was
bad.
If
you remember, it was bad. But what did he do after that? In the first inning, I think in his very first start, he either walked or hit a guy.
Yeah.
Right after that, he got a big timeout.
Yep.
The second inning, he either walked or hit a guy, and he got a big timeout.
I'm almost positive we were doing a show that night. I'm pretty sure we were doing a show together that night, and we were like, oh my God, Urquidy, what are you doing? And then you're like, oh, okay. And I'm pretty sure we were doing a show just watching that whole thing go down.
Yes, I really, really took notice of that guy's poise, and I said, like, he's got a little bit of dog in him. I like that bulldog mentality that he had. Like, you know what? F it. I walked him, or I just hit him, or I gave up a hit, but it's on to the next, and I love that. That's the kind of mentality you need at this time of the year.
With Hinch, it really just comes down to who he trusts more to get himself out of a bad situation. Who do you like? Both guys, if they both have good starts, they have good starts, and they can get guys out. But if they start bad, who do you trust more to continue trying to pull himself out of that situation? And pitch. Yeah, I logically it makes sense. Logically, it totally makes sense. It's just for some reason my gut says Miley. I don't know why.
Understand.
Because we've seen, and maybe it's because we've seen Miley do it more. And the other thing with I like the idea of Urquidy being in the pen, because I trust him to get guys out of bad situations if they have to get pulled, and I trust to get good innings out of him if he's a reliever, and then he comes in the 6th and the 7th, or if he comes in the 7th and the 8th. I trust him to give good innings because of how well he's pitched lately. And I guess my other fear is.
Can I tell you why?
Go ahead.
No, finish your thought. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say my other thing is, what does that do to the mentality of Wade Miley if he's pulled out as the 4th starter? And what is it like? Is he going to be as effective in the pen? Because maybe it messes with his head a little bit. He's already been slumping, and then he's not the 4th starter, and that messes with his brain a bit. And maybe he can't get out of those tight situations and those tough situations.
I have the same concern about starting him. Because
yeah, that's fair.
Over his last 5 starts, he's been awful, and this might not mean anything in the grand scheme of things because they don't have to tell us a damn thing in the
Right.
media. But this is another reason why I'm a jinx. I've covered like three or four of his last 5 terrible outings. Every start I go to, it's either Greinke or Miley.
Well, it's not Miley's fault then. It's your fault. So we can't.
It's my fault.
Yeah, just don't go.
But I'm going tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going
well,
tomorrow.
He wouldn't be pitching anyway, so we're good.
But I'm bringing my aura to the ballpark. Okay,
it's just gonna stay there throughout the rest of the ALDS. The Bajani aura.
Seriously, like, after all of the games, neither Hinch or Miley has given us a solid reason as to what is going on.
Right.
And we've asked him, Miley in particular, about tipping pitches. Have you reviewed film to maybe see if that's happening? Have you reviewed film to maybe see if the opposition is stealing signs? Are they loading up on you? Are they anticipating what's coming? What about the very first question after the first poor start that he had, the worst start legit in his career when he couldn't get an out? He went 0 innings. We asked him about his stuff. And he'd said he'd felt the best he'd felt all season long that night. But Hinch would say, before we even got to Miley, that, well, he didn't have his best stuff.
Right.
And Hinch has said that about Greinke. Hinch has said that about Verlander. He said that about Cole. And you go right to them and ask, and they will back that up.
Yeah.
But Miley didn't back that up. So it's one of two things. One, they don't want to talk about anything and lead anybody to think that this or that or the other thing is going on, or two, they're not on the same page. So all this leads me to believe is that Miley is struggling up here in his head when he steps on that mound.
Yeah.
He doesn't trust his stuff because if he's not getting the rotation he wants, if he's not getting the break he wants, if his cutter isn't the way that he likes it to be, in the first inning, he's not able to adjust. He has no feel. Urquidy, he's got that bulldog mentality. It's kind of like the young guy who just goes in there, and because he understands what's on the line, sure,
right,
but he's not been there before. He's going out there and freaking pitching. He's going out there trying to make a case for being in the starting rotation next year. Jeff Luhnow said it himself when they clinched the AL West a week and a half ago. Hey, we don't know what Urquidy's role is going to be during this postseason, but we can fairly certainly say that he's going to be a big part of the rotation next year. He's in our plans. That's the organization's mentality. I think that's Urquidy's mentality, and I think that at this point of the year, I'm willing to ride and die with over what I've seen from Miley to this point.
Yeah, you know what? You're kind of swaying me. You're making me feel better about, which I didn't feel bad about Urquidy starting. my gut told me Miley, but you're changing my gut. You're literally crawling in there like a little good bacteria. You're like it's like you're putting 5. Yeah, you're just sliding down my throat like a little good Bajani fiber and making me regular and regulating my gut. You're like a juice cleanse. That's what you're giving me, an Astros juice cleanse right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're making me.
Just
just real fast before we do tomorrow's prediction, or our predictions for tomorrow's game, which I kind of already gave mine, so it's just essentially your prediction. But are you worried about Greinke going into the playoffs? Because I still don't feel super comfortable and super confident with him as an Astro starter, which sucks because he's been incredible his entire career. He's had a year or two where he hasn't been quite Zach Greinke, but this year he was literally pitching well, got traded, and then it's like somebody just shit in his mouth. And it hasn't. He's had good games, but he hasn't looked like Zach Greinke. He has been a very good pitcher, but he hasn't looked like Zach Greinke, and that worries me going in. Not against Tampa Bay, but that more worries me against teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers.
How can I say this? We've had this situation before in Houston. And it was when Dallas Keuchel was here.
Yeah,
if you
remember
back in what was Keuchel's Cy Young year, man?
2015.
Okay,
Wasn't it
I was going to
2015?
say 2015. I was going to say 15, but man, that feels too damn recent for me.
Yeah.
But you're probably right. It was probably 2015. He had such a terrific stretch in 2015. And damn, man, we got super used to that, right? In 15 and in 16 and in 17, even with some of the health concerns, that sucker would come back and he'd give you 7 innings, 2 hits,
Right.
8 Ks, 1 walk. And man, the guy was just like, you couldn't touch the dude. I feel like we're doing the same thing with Greinke that we did to the Astros 2, 3, 4, and 5 stars in 15 and in 16, and we're comparing those guys, and in this case Greinke, to the absolute dominance that we're seeing from Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole.
Maybe that's
so
it. Yeah.
An 8-1 figure with a 3.06 ERA. If that doesn't do it for you, which is exactly what Wade Miley was putting up before he'd had some of these struggles. That was the stretch run that he had. It's similar to what Zach Greinke has done with the Houston Astros, but Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole aren't plateauing. They're getting better, not in their careers, but as the season goes along and in their careers. And that's the comparison that we're constantly making. He pitches behind those two, and it's like, 15 Ks from Cole, 12 from Verlander, a 2-hitter from Cole, a 3-hitter from Verlander, and then here comes Greinke doing what he does: 6 innings, 5 hits, a run, 1 walk, 8 Ks, and it's the typical Dallas Keuchel start versus an incredible level of dominance that we've not seen in Houston in your and my time. Not since Roger Clemens went 18-4 with a 1.84 ERA with the Astros.
Right. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm unfairly comparing him to what Verlander and Cole have done. And to be honest, I don't follow stats well enough. To be honest, I had no idea he was 8-1. I really honestly thought he was more like 6-3. Which is still really good. Like 6-3 is really good. But there's a bit of a drop off from what he was doing in Arizona versus what he's doing in Houston this year. And that just has me a little concerned. That has me what really has me concerned is we get into the ALCS against the Yankees, and Verlander takes game 1, but Cole drops game 2, and Greinke gets put in a position where they could be down through 3 games, they could be down 1-2 with 1 win, 2 losses. And then you have your fourth starter coming up, which would probably be Urquidy, and it kind of I don't know. Maybe it just has me concerned if we get into that situation. There's a little bit more pressure on him. I think he'll be fine if Verlander wins, Cole wins, and then it comes to him. There's not as much pressure, but with a little bit more pressure, it just concerns me. It just concerns me that every single stat that he's had has gone up. His freaking ERA has gone up. His hits per 9 has gone up. His WHIP's gone up. Let's look at this real fast. What other stats that I don't know about that his FIP has gone up. His strikeouts per win has gone down. His strikeouts per 9 has gone down. Like every stat has changed for him, and it's just he's not bad, Zach Greinke. He's just not as good as he has been.
Isn't there something to be said, though, in maybe the way that they prepare analytically would totally shoot me down, but I still think analytics is huge, and I love them.
Yeah.
But you cannot solely replace analytics with the way you inherently behave, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
So for years, Zach Greinke has been preparing to pitch against his National League hitters. Okay? He knew those guys like the back of his hand. And here he comes to the American League, and don't give me the crap with interleague play because he's doing that, making 4 starts a season against interleague opponents, if that. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I just do a number out. But it's completely different preparation for those hitters.
Very true.
Learning their tendencies, learning American League sequences and how the game is managed there, what you're thinking in this situation and that situation. And look, I might be making too much of it. I just think when it comes down to, this guy really struggles with the off speed low and away. Let me attack him this way. historically, I've done this. He's 0 for 15 against my ass, and I pitched him the same way for, 4 starts this season.
Right.
I'm just going to go around. Whatever. He's had to make that curve from going to National League to American League, studying those hitters to American League hitters. And I also think, too, and it's maybe a reason why you've seen, I think, better stuff from him in 4 of his last 5 starts with the Astros, is I don't know what Brent Strom has really done with him, done for him, helped him with. Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, those conversations that are taking place during the game when he's not starting, when he's sitting there as, an observer, and they're talking ball. We don't know what that's done for him and what changes they've made, how his preparations changed. I just won't ever forget this, and I'll leave it at this. When Verlander became a Houston Astro, and he came here and he said, I thought I knew how to prepare. Nobody prepared like me. But I come to Houston, and it's just they've opened up an entirely new world and way of thinking about a lot of stuff that I already did. But they've given me more. And what I'm able to do with that is take my game to a completely different level. That's what happened to Justin Verlander. That's what happened to Charlie Morton a couple of years ago. It's what happened to Garrett Cole over the last couple of years. And it might be the process that Brent Strom and the Houston Astros have started with Zach Greinke.
That's fair. That's actually true. He's so early in the process. It's unfair. And this is actually what I was looking at the other day, and this is where my concerns in the playoffs come from too. He doesn't have a great track record in the playoffs. So he's had 8 appearances. His average ERA through those 8 appearances is a 4.03. Now, obviously, the competition's a lot better because you're playing in the playoffs. But I mean, his through games, we've got a 7.2, we've got a 6.1, we've got a 2.4 in there, a 9.8. And that's all unfair to put out there. But like his stats in the postseason versus his regular season stats aren't super great. If you look at Garrett Cole's and Justin Verlander's, they're not as far off from regular season to postseason. So I just don't want him to crumble, but he's never had the luxury of being the 3rd starter in the playoffs either, which that's a huge change for him because usually
and I guarantee you he's never had this lineup, kind of lineup behind
backing him up.
I mean, what that does to, oh my gosh. And the defense too. And the fact that Carlos Correa is coming back, which,
thankfully,
by the way,
for how long though?
Well, but you know what? Like, it's easy to pick at him and stuff, but I feel like the Astros in this case were extremely extra careful in how they handled him with this latest little back twinge. In that, why do we need to rush this guy back? Dude came back and was crushing again. Every time Correa comes back from injury, it does not take that guy long to get back in the flow. He was crushing and feeling really good and looking really good at the plate and in the field. I think the Astros just quite simply had the luxury of being really careful with this guy, and it's going to be ride or die with Carlos Correa in the postseason, just as they did with Jose Altuve last postseason. And the beautiful part about that is with Correa, you're not going to pay him $200 million like you paid Jose Altuve right now or next year. You get 2 more years of arbitration and team control with Carlos Correa. So stop freaking out about, we need to trade Carlos Correa and this and that. It's on every Vine I see every time, he's in the headlines, which is because of injury or banged up here, banged up there, whatever.
So what's your prediction for tomorrow? Really quickly, so we can move on to football stuffs.
I think Astros win. I think it's really close. I like a 4-2, 4-3 ball game, Astros.
Okay. I think Verlander's going to come out and dominate. I just feel it. Look, I'm feeling cocky, man. I'm feeling cocky tonight.
Love it.
Yeah, Verlander's going to come out and he's going to whip his dick out and swing it all over the diamond. He's going to be like, "This is what Kate comes home to at night, bitches." And he's just gonna fucking sling that shit all over the place. He's gonna. This is real gross, but I'm already going down this road. He's gonna pitch 90 billion mile an hour fastballs with his dick, and just sling them, man. Just curve. Well, it's got a slight curve to it, so it's kind of like a fast. It's like a curve. It's just a really fast curveball, yeah. Yeah, it's a 3/4. Thank you very much, Mr. Baseball.
If he's pitching with his winger, it's probably more like a Chad Bradford, like sweeping fastball, breaking ball that goes upwards.
It's like you remember from basketball where they're in the locker room and like they turn and you just see it go. Whoop. That's what it's gonna be whenever he's in his windup and he's just going. It's just gonna be like. Wow, that went down a real weird path. Yeah, I'm feeling good. I call 8-2. I think Verlander's gonna sling it. I'm just happy that postseason baseball is here, man. I'm ready. I've been so ready for playoff baseball. I'm gonna be in the office tomorrow, and people are gonna be like, "Josh, why aren't you working?" I'm gonna say, "Shut your whore mouth," because I'm watching the Astros right now. It's gonna be great. Well, let's move on to baseball. No, oh my God, baseball on the brain. Let's move on to football now. Before we get into the Texans and the problem that I have with the fact that there are still human beings in the city of Houston and Texans fans that trust Bill O'Brien to make good in-game decisions, it blows my mind. Let's talk about the Vontaze Burfict suspension real fast. And I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but this is where I've kind of landed on it. And I know you've probably got some thoughts that you haven't had a chance to vent yet, but I'll jump into this real fast. Vontaze Burfict, obviously, dirty ass hit. I mean, it was just an insanely dirty hit, and that's what he's done his entire career. And when I first saw that he was suspended for the entire season, so if you haven't heard, for some reason you've been living under a rock, Vontaze Burfict was suspended for the entirety of the remainder of the 2019 season, which is a lot. And when I first saw it, I'm like, man, that's a lot. That's too much. That's the whole season is too much. And I watched the play and I thought about it. And I went back and watched some of the other hits that he's had on people and seen how dirty of a player he really is. And I finally decided that it's not too much. At some point, like, he's just going to keep doing it if you don't really, really do something about it. Now, a lot of I've heard people on ESPN and Fox Sports calling for him to be kicked out of the league and to be done with the NFL. That's too harsh. That's too much. But there needed to be an example made. I don't think there's a lot of players in the NFL going around laying the hits that Vontaze Burfict lays. And if the hit would have been more like, what's his name, Jones from the Patriots the other day, whenever the guy was being tackled and he kind of flew in with his helmet, but he didn't really mean to. He didn't really mean to go helmet to helmet. If it was a hit like that, then maybe a season's too much, even with the track record. But the fact that the guy's he's halfway to the ground, he's just sitting there, and you just full speed dive into him. People have said, "Oh, he's just a relic from days past." No, that's Terrell Suggs. Terrell Suggs is a relic from days past. Terrell Suggs lays hits that are still illegal, and he's talked about it before. But he doesn't go out of his way to try to ruin people's lives. Right? Yeah. Like, he's just trying to lay big hits. Like, accidentally hitting somebody the wrong way while you're trying to legitimately tackle them to keep them from scoring a touchdown is one thing. But when you're Vontaze Burfict and the guy is that helpless, and you just fly in full speed, knowing full well who you've been, and you throw your helmet straight into theirs, and you see their neck contract like that, like, I'm fine with the whole season. I'm totally fine with it. I think he's a dirty player, and they needed to make an example of him to other players, and they needed to send him a message like, we're not fucking around with you anymore, dude. Yeah. Like we're not playing these games. We're gonna we care about money at the end of the day, and we're about to be sued for shit like this. And we can't have this. We can't have you injuring more players. But more importantly, on top of that, we can't have you injuring more players. When we're already dealing with CTE bullshit, and people are going out left and right for concussions, and you're like, guys are like players are running into each other and getting knocked out and getting carted off the field. There's enough of that already without Vontaze Burfict flying around. And I don't care if he is crying. I don't care if he's got weird ass goober Derek Carr trying to back him up in the media. He deserved to get suspended for the year. At first, I thought it was a little bit too much, but now I'm fully on board with it. It wasn't too much. I think it was the accurate and an adequate response. And hopefully this deters people from being assholes on the field. Like, be mean. I want people to be mean, and I want people to be aggressive. And if a guy gets penalized or he gets suspended because he lays a hit he shouldn't have because he didn't mean to lay that hit, he was trying to do something else and it happened, I'll accept that. But just a guy that's that defenseless and you're just throwing yourself into him, that's being not mean from a football standpoint. That's being a mean, stupid human being.
It's playing the game with the reckless abandon.
Right,
with
exactly.
With no regard for another player, but really, more importantly, to make the point as to why they play that way, there's no regard for their own safety.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's only going to be a matter of time before somebody tries to deliver a death blow to somebody, but they're the ones, that suffer the concussion, that suffer the injury, that suffer the neck break, whatever it is. But who was, before I kind of give you my take on this whole thing, who was the guy that laid the hit on Josh Allen?
That was Jones. I can't remember his first name, from the Patriots. So
right.
Josh Allen.
What happened to that dude?
Okay, people were calling for him to get suspended. I don't know if he did, which I think that's the right call. The difference with his hit, and if you watch it, is Josh Allen is an active runner. He was already multiple. He was a decent amount of yards down the field. He's a big ass motherfucker. And it was a bad combination of Josh Allen's an active runner, but he's a quarterback, so they're still going to protect him. Jones threw his head and his shoulder down, not expecting Allen to get tackled from behind, which lowered him a little bit, and that's why it ended up being helmet to helmet. Like, if you watch it a few times, I watched it once and I was like, oh shit, that's a hit. Watched it a couple more times, I'm like, okay, this dude didn't mean to do that. That's why it's different from the Vontaze Burfict situation. And I don't know that anything happened to him. I hope he didn't get suspended. I hope he didn't get fined, because I think that was just circumstance. And most importantly, Josh Allen was a fucking active runner. He wasn't being sacked. He was running the ball, and he wasn't a defenseless receiver. So there should be no penalty for that.
All right. Well, the latest report that I'm looking at right now is that Jones was not facing a suspension reportedly, but rather a fine for the hit.
Man, I hate that.
I saw it a couple of times myself, and I was just like, damn, that's a big time hit.
Yeah.
That's a quarterback that he just hit. Helmet to helmet. And I thought it was...
Uh-oh, Sean, I lost you. Oh, you don't get your takes on my show, boy. Yeah, you try to give me your hot Sean Bajani takes. You try to give me your hot Sean Bajani takes, and then I cut you off. That's what it was. We can't have your takes on my show. Hey, there we go. We're back. I'm sitting there talking.
I never lost you. I could still hear you and see you.
Yeah, I'm sitting there talking shit to you. It was even like it was making the beeping noise for connecting. Okay, you were the sad part about that is you were in the middle of like your point with like there was energy and your face froze like this. It was like, and I was just like I'm like waiting for that take. Oh, man, it didn't happen. Okay, go ahead. So Josh Allen, quarterback helmet to helmet hit.
I was just going to say you can take the circumstance out of it for a second, like what you thought the intent was, or, well, Allen, there was nothing he could do but help be in that position, and Jonathan Jones couldn't help but be in that position. You can't that's like the prototypical argument when helmet to helmet came into play a number of years ago, and guys were going to start getting fined and suspended for this. Was like, well, what are you going to do when the guy that you're trying to tackle just has his body contort in a way that you can't avoid it? You can't move your head or move your body in a split second. You have to understand that these things are going to happen. However, what I immediately said to myself after I saw Allen get hit, after the Burfict hit, is, damn, that's a quarterback, man. So if Burfict is catching hell, what is Jonathan Jones? What kind of hell is that dude going to catch? The thing that hurt, I think, Burfict in this matter, two big things, really. His track record, which is horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. What is it, like 13 times over the course of the last 7 years, mostly with the Bengals, he's been flagged in multiple suspensions.
He's had four or five different suspensions.
Right. That's one. But then two, look at the way that fool ran off of the field and celebrated, chunk deuce to the fans there, as if like he legit still had no regard for human life on that football field, his own or the guy that he just clobbered. Absolute zero regard, zero empathy for anything that had just taken place. Like, he's happy about that shit. That was strike two. And I think ultimately, when you're the NFL and you come down with that initial punishment, in his case, 12-game suspension, you're done for the rest of the season. You're done for the rest of the postseason. You won't even have to worry about that because your team sucks, but you're done. Okay? It's always the case in baseball, basketball, football. They're going to hit you hard. They're going to make you try to shit your pants. They're going to try to absolutely ring you for some kind of, apology. This is like a wink and a nod. Your ass better change your mind as to how you handled this. The next time I see you, when you come to the office and you'll make an appeal, as he did, and it's going to be heard on Tuesday, then your attitude better change. I think it's that. And we've seen before in Burfict's case where he's been given a 5-game ban and it's been reduced to 3, where he's been given 4 and it's been reduced to 2. We've also seen it to where he was given a punishment on a hit in the postseason a few years ago, and I think the ban at that time was 3 games. And I think the guy that's going to hear his case on Tuesday presided over that and didn't reduce the suspension. Why didn't he reduce that suspension then? Because it was in the postseason, and he was going to miss 3 games to start the following season. 12 games will not stand, and I don't really think it should, for one reason alone. One reason alone. There's no precedent for it. And you have botched this time and time and time again with a guy like Burfict, to whereas you're a repeat offender. There's not been a steady progression of 1 game, 3 games, 5 games, 7 games. By the letter of law, you don't have to do that. It's very subjective, but hence the criticism and the lack of trust and consistency from Roger Goodell in the NFL. You can't go ahead and make one guy an example just because of his track record.
Yes,
just
you can.
Because of the way that he celebrated. There has to be some kind of precedent, I think, set before, and it's going to be reduced.
Sean, I gotta take my hat off for this one. Sean, I could not disagree. I'm fine for now. I could not.
No, hold on. You're about to say you can't disagree with me more.
Could not disagree.
Why?
This is literally the most disagree. Okay, there is a precedent for it, just not with shitty hits and penalties. Josh Gordon has been with weed, which I don't know whether or not you should be suspended for weed for a certain amount of games and then get suspended for a season. That's not the argument. But there is a precedent for people having been suspended for only 4 games and then 4 games and then entire seasons. So the precedent is already there, just with a different thing. Vontaze Burfict has had chance after chance after chance after chance to get this right, and he gets it wrong every single time, like you said. So at some point, the precedent needs to be set. And this is the one time where I completely agree with the NFL and Goodell and saying, you know what, we are going to make an example. We are going to set the precedent. If you do this shit, and to me, it's that I think what this boils down to is So what I'm unpacking is that you think the Jones hit is worse than Vontaze Burfict's hit, correct?
I don't think it's
Or do you think
worse.
They're equal?
The severity of it, I think Burfict's hit was more severe and violent.
On a guy that's on the ground, that's trying to get up. There's no, and he goes straight. Look, Joe.
What you missed was while I think Burfict's hit was more violent and more severe, my initial thought was on the Jonathan Jones hit on a quarterback. I thought, holy hell,
he's an active runner.
He's absolutely going to catch. Holy hell, because it's a quarterback.
It doesn't matter. He's a big. Josh Allen is going to get the Cam Newton treatment, and we've seen this before. He's going to get the Cam Newton treatment, right or wrong. He's going to get it because he is a big ass quarterback.
He's the Cam
heavy
Newton treatment? What do you mean?
It's the Cam Newton treatment, the LeBron James treatment. He is so fucking big. It's different than if Aaron Rodgers, slow ass Aaron Rodgers, or not slow ass, if Aaron Rodgers runs the ball or slow ass Tom Brady runs the ball. They're not as big. Josh Allen is a big dude, and if you don't lay hits on him, he'll just bounce right off of you. Kind of the same thing kind of happens with Ben Roethlisberger too. Big quarterbacks don't get the benefit of the doubt. Josh Allen's like 200 billion pounds, and Jonathan Jones is like 5 inches shorter. He weighs much less. And if you watch the Jones hit, I swear, I honestly think that he thought he led with the shoulder, was trying to lead with the shoulder, and hit with the shoulder. And just the way the play ended up, the difference for me is intention. Jonathan Jones was just trying to lay a big hit with a shoulder on a big-ass active runner. A guy who, if he doesn't lay that hit, is literally just going to run through him. And I really do think his intention was to lead with the shoulder. If you watch the hit, Vontaze Burfict was clearly trying to lay his forearm and helmet into the helmet of a guy who was on the ground trying to get up. There's no need for it. Put your hands out and push him back down on the ground and make him down, or just fall on top of him. But Vontaze Burfict was trying to hurt somebody. Jones was just a young kid trying to make a play. That's the difference between me is intent. Is Vontaze Burfict had the intent to hurt somebody, Jones didn't, and I'm completely fine. Even if there's no precedent for this specifically before, I'm fine with them setting the precedent now because he's had multiple times to get it right. Say you own a business, all right? Let's say you own a skate shop. I'm going to use me as an example, okay? Let's say you own a skate shop and you hire your nephew to run your skate shop for you, which, by the way, is a terrible fucking idea. It's hiring a 16, 17-year-old high school kid to run your business for you is awful. But let's say that you own a skate shop, you hire your nephew, and all he does is sit and play Xbox and play Halo all day long instead of trying to sell stuff. And you say, stop doing that. And then he keeps doing it. And you say, stop doing that, and he keeps doing that. And you say, stop doing that, and you dock his pay, and he keeps doing it. And it's just this back and forth where it's like, stop, and he just keeps doing it. At some point, you have to make the decision. Either I'm going to let this behavior continue, or I'm going to fire him. And this is a business decision. At some point, you have to make that decision. And he had 4, 5, 6, 17 chances to get it right, and he got it wrong. Now, if it was a hit, honestly, if Vontaze Burfict's hit had been like Jones's hit, then a suspension at all, I'm not okay with. Like, if Burfict's hit had been, let's say you put Burfict in Jones's spot, and he's hitting a guy like Josh Allen, the way Jones hit him, and they try to suspend him, I say no, that's not okay. But there was a clear intention on a defenseless receiver.
I think if you swap the names, the jerseys out, if you put Burfict in place of Jones, Jones in place of Burfict
still gets suspended. Yeah,
of why? Because why?
Because of his name. But I'm saying me personally. I'm not saying that is what would happen. Yeah, absolutely, Burfict would still be suspended. But I'm saying me personally, I would not suspend him for the Jones hit. I will suspend him for his hit.
I understand. I get it, man. And these things are subjective because you don't know intent. We can judge intent by what these guys say, the reactions after the game. In the locker room, the media availability, the rest of the week, these all help us form our opinions. But just looking at these hits, and I just rewatched them again, and I don't change my stance. Burfict's hit was way more violent, way more vicious than Jonathan Jones's hit on Allen. There's no question about that. But Jonathan Jones, I don't know intent there when I watch that. All I see is a guy doing exactly what he knows he's not supposed to do, and that is dip the helmet in contact. You can't do it. Yeah. You can't do it. There was no need to do it. The guy was going down already. You want to send a message. You want to rattle the quarterback. I totally get that. Totally get it. But just know, and he's gotten lucky to this point, if in fact he's not going to garner a suspension for this and just a fine. The fine will probably be no more than $20,000, if I was to guess. But you want to rattle a quarterback, there's a lot of other ways to do it than put yourself and somebody else's life at jeopardy and go helmet to helmet.
Hold on.
You can rattle a guy a bunch of different ways.
Hold on real fast. I got a phone call I got to take. Hey. Yeah. Yeah, did you mean to do it? Of course you didn't. I know. Okay, cool. All right, we definitively have proof. Goodbye. We definitively have proof that Jonathan Jones' intention was not to go helmet to helmet. I just needed to clear that. I needed to clear the air on that.
Yeah, I didn't know you guys were
derailed.
We're called each other.
Yeah, I got him on speed dial. It's actually I got it as JoJo. That's my nickname for him. That's my pet name, JoJo. I can't do J-Joe because there's already a J-Joe that I know. But yeah, JoJo I did.
Right underneath, right? I get it. Yeah, totally get it.
But I can see your argument. No matter what intent was, that is what I saw. So I'm fine. I'm fine with the fine. Okay. I wouldn't be fine with a suspension. Fine him first, because that anybody who lays a hit like that has been fined first before they've been suspended.
Bottom line. Not your opinion, but what you think is going to happen with Burfict. Dude's done for the season. Does it stand or is it rebuffed?
It stands. They can't take it back now. Like if you're the NFL and you go that harsh, you can't take it back. It makes you look weak. Like if you're gonna have the hard and fast stance of you're done for the year instead of like 6 games or 8 games more than what you've given him before, you can't walk that back, because then if you walk that back, he's just gonna come back and do it again.
I don't know. You walk it back to 8 games.
You're still walking it back, right? You're still looking weak.
But 8 games is pretty damn severe. And
8 games is definitely severe, but
pay to this point.
Yeah,
this is without pay.
But here's the deal: like if you're going to do 8 games, why not just do the whole 12? Why only give him 4 games, right? Like I get the Raiders aren't making the playoffs, and then you'd only give him 4 games to play in. Like if you're going to walk it back, you'd walk it back to 6 and do half of that.
You only give him 4 games to play in, and he also misses 8 games of paychecks if you keep that suspension without pay. This is what I think is going to happen based on the NFL's track record. Based on
you think they're going to walk it back to 8?
I don't know if it's 8. It could be 10,
or just walk 6. It back. Period. Yeah.
I just think walking it back. Period. And I think the precedent that should be set, if you're going to do it with a guy, there's no better dirty player to make an example of than Burfict. You know what I mean? It's inarguable. Look at the track record. But
I'm sorry. I'm trying so hard not to laugh right now, because you just said if you're going to do it with a guy, and then you paused, and there were so many things that popped up into my head that I could have said. Loosen up. Use lube first. Have a little wine. Get yourself in the mood, man. Close your eyes and pretend.
We can get to that later, but I don't have much for you there.
No, we're not in the same place. Only when we're together. I don't have much
for you.
Yeah, no, I mean,
can't give you any recommendations.
I say don't walk it back or it makes you look weak, but like every time I punish my kids, I'm like, I feel bad now, and so like
but like the NFL's worried about looking weak, dude. Seriously?
I mean, they should be, because that's all they've looked. That's all they've looked like.
They haven't been before. Yeah. They're not worried about looking weak.
I mean, but what is Vontaze Burfict to their brand? What is Vontaze? It's all about the Shield. Every decision is about the Shield. What is Vontaze Burfict to the Shield? Now, if it was like let's just throw a name out there, just to throw a name. If it's a TJ Watt, or if it's Khalil Mack, then maybe they walk back a suspension. Those names mean more to the Shield. But what does Vontaze Burfict mean to the Shield? I don't think he means enough.
I don't know if it's as much about the name as it is something that I don't have the answers to in front of me right now, and that is the number of helmet-to-helmet hits in each of the last, let's go, 5 to 7 years. Have we seen an increase, a decrease? Have we seen a plateau? Because if you keep this suspension as is, 12 games, no money, and we see an increase next year, and it plateaus the next year, plateaus the next year, plateaus the next year, and you start to see some repeat offenders here. It's going to be very important that the NFL and Roger Goodell use Burfict as the precedent of an entire season suspension without pay. Is that going to be followed up upon, regardless of the severity of the hit, but just the helmet-to-helmet itself? That ultimately, dude, is what it's about. You know, like, are we going to start looking at, exit velocity of a guy's launch into somebody else?
Please, yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
He hit him at 24 miles per hour versus 28 miles per hour for this guy.
If they, I want to meet the guy that can hit somebody at 24 miles per hour. Nick Chubb's touchdown run.
Yeah, I think like the fastest run was like 22
It
miles
was
per hour.
23.5. I think it was like 23.55. So that's like Nick Chubb 88 yards full speed running into somebody.
It would be like adjusted rate of velocity, if whatever caveat. You know what I'm saying? But that's a dangerous road you go down.
Yeah.
And the NFL has got to start to think about this, especially with the CBA coming up and all of these things that the players union is allegedly preparing their players for, that they're going to put their foot down in the ground, for the first time. And they're really going to look to take a little bit of power back and power away from the owners and things like that. This could be an absolute hell of a fight that, again, I don't think they're prepared for. But there's so many other things at play there. This could be one of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many NFL players would ride or die with Burfict, but it's not necessarily about the individual. It's about, what if I was in that situation? What if a teammate of mine was in that situation that I would ride or die with? How's that going to be handled? How's he perceived? You have to think about that stuff down the road.
Yeah, that's fair. I've just realized what I want to be. I want to be the Vontaze Burfict of sports talk. That's what I want to be. Just taking unnecessary shots at other sports media talent. So I'm going to say this right now. Fuck you, Seth Payne. Bam. Blindsided.
Why'd you pick on Seth?
I don't know. It's the first name
that was so random.
Because Seth is the one person that I can pick on that'll understand that I'm joking and not hate me. Like it's like you, Seth, Clanton, and like a very few select other people that don't have soft ass egos that like when I say something like that will know I'm joking and won't be like, oh, what an asshole. I hate him.
I knew Josh never liked me.
He's such a backstabbing dick face. But for real, fuck you, Seth. That's my new thing, man. I'm gonna be the Vontaze Burfict of Houston sports talk. That's what I want to be from now on. Just unnecessary shots and start fires all over the place until the city bans. Look, I actually want to say this real fast before we get into the Texans. You guys are stuck with me. Like, and I don't know. I don't think there's a ton of people watching right now, and I don't know how many people are. I'm gonna clip this for sure because I was waiting for my next show to say this. But you motherfuckers are stuck with me. Like, I'm here. All these other guys, first of all, congratulations to my buddy Paul, our buddy Paul Gallant. Congratulations to him. He's in Seattle, man. I couldn't be happier for him. He had an interview with Pete Carroll. I texted him afterward. He was super stoked. He loves being up there. He's got a really good gig, so I'm super happy for him. But Sean, I think you're the same way as me. Like, people come and go in Houston sports talk. Some people stay a really long time, but I'm here. Like, I'm not going anywhere. This is my home for the rest of forever, and I want to do this. So whether I'm doing it on my own or I end up doing it for a radio station or I do it at some other capacity, I'm here. You guys are stuck with me. And my whole goal moving forward with everything that I do is I'm going to be Houston's Vontaze Burfict of sports talk. I'm going to start fires. I'm going to watch them burn to the ground, but I'm going to do it in a much nicer way than Josh Ennis has his entire career here. That's all I got. That's all I have to say.
That's a good business move by you. Good
be Josh Ennis, but less of a dick about it. I've heard he's a super nice guy. I've only met him like a couple. The couple of times I've met him, one time it was while Paul. It was Radio Row when the Super Bowl was in Houston, and Paul and I were doing like the little pre-show Periscope thing that we did. And Ennis comes up and starts making fun of Paul, and I'm a very defensive person when it comes to my friends and my family, and so I immediately was like, I hate this fat fuck. And then the second time I met him was at Radio Row in Atlanta last year at the Super Bowl. And Jim and Josh had gotten credentials to come in. I met Jilly too, and he was super nice. And I think it's because he was with Jim. But I don't know. I want to be like a better, more like slightly more tactful version of Josh Ennis.
I think it's because Jim completes him.
Jim does complete him a little bit.
They're two peas in a pod.
Although he's started doing his own thing and kind of left Jim high and dry, so I'm not going to talk about that anymore.
No.
I
texted Paul the other day, like when I found out that he got that job, dude. I was so pumped up for him too because Alex Del Barrio and I, and you need to join at some point. On our ventures, we take a trip every
baseball
summer.
adventures, yeah.
We wanted to do Seattle this past year, and it just didn't happen, because time and money is a bitch sometimes. But Seattle's an awesome place that I want to take in a ball game,
Dude,
football
I'm
game,
down.
and a baseball game.
Yeah.
Extra reason to go now that Paulie's up there, and like the city looks awesome. It looks like he's happy, and he's going to kick ass. I already know it.
We could plan a trip for late summer, like early fall time-ish, so we get to do a baseball game and a football game. That's what we need to do. And the company I work for now has unlimited PTO, so I can take the days off and it doesn't matter. We really need to do that, but you have to bear with me because I have to go see all the sights of Seattle. I need to go to I need to try to find all the places that Frasier has talked about because it's my favorite sitcom of all time, and then I need to kind of like walk around and look at all the different areas where they film Grey's Anatomy. So there's like a double whammy of Seattle that you're just gonna have to deal with while we're up there that aren't sports related. And
all you have to do is feed me. If you
I'll feed you. There you go.
I'll be good.
If I feed him, he will come. That's kind of my motto with my wife on Saturday nights too. So moving on to the Texans.
So many things I could have done with that last statement.
Well, that statement was meant for things to be done with it. That statement was not an innuendo or a setup at all. It's literally what it sounded like. So real fast, because we've been going for a really long time. I looked at it, was like, how long have we been talking? It feels like maybe like 35, 40 minutes.
No.
Nope, we've been going for an hour and 22 minutes. We've almost been going for an hour and a half. So let's do like 5 or 6 minutes on this real fast. I had some like non-sports topics I want to get to, but maybe we'll do that next time. We have a possible announcement at the end of the show. Do we have an announcement at the end of the show, Sean?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, we've got an announcement at the end of the show. Let's talk about Bill O'Brien and the Texans. Bill O'Brien might be the worst in-game manager and in-game coach I've ever seen in my entire life. And honestly, I don't love his offensive game plan a lot. It's too inconsistent. Watching him call offensive plays is the NFL equivalent of watching Kellen Mond try to play quarterback for Texas A&M. And I don't know if you've watched a lot of the Texas A&M's games, but Kellen Mond's super inconsistent. All the tools are there. The concepts are there. The talent is there. The idea is there. But he just overanalyzes what he needs to do. And then that fucking challenge last Sunday was just absolute garbage, dude. Like his clock management hasn't gotten any better. His challenge management hasn't gotten any better. He needs to hire one of us to just stand beside him and be like, oh, no. Like, honestly, like he needs to hire somebody like me that doesn't really have a lot of skills, but one thing I am really good at is just I just have a lot of actual physical strength. And so when he reaches for his challenge flag, I just need to be there. Someone says, no, don't, like, there's like a signal from like Romeo Crennel when he knows the challenge flag is about to be thrown and he shows me the signal. I'm like, got it. And then I just bear hug Bill O'Brien and just keep him from throwing the challenge flag and say, calm down, Bill. Stop screaming at me, butt chin. That's what I need to do.
Haven't certain NFL coaches over the years like had somebody else actually hold the challenge flag for them because
I hope so.
They've been a little bit too quick on the trigger sometimes. Like they want to make sure before they throw the flag.
Right.
Like you I don't know if you want to have that guy either because somebody might murder him if he's
Bill
nowhere
O'Brien
to be found when you need to throw the flag.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien would murder him. It's just like his and what's crazy is I've still seen people on Twitter, and this is what blows my mind more. Like, we all know Bill O'Brien's problems, and we don't need to go over the clock management issues a lot. We don't need to go over the challenge. We don't need to go over that dumb fucking play with DeAndre Hopkins. We don't need to go over all of that. Everybody's talked about that ad nauseum. The one thing I will say is just the people that still trust Bill O'Brien blow my mind. Yeah, he's made some good decisions here and there as a GM, and maybe he is a really good motivator and coach when they're not in a football game. But when does it matter the most? How can anybody watch a Texans game and think to themselves, oh, Bill O'Brien, don't worry about it. He's going to right the ship. Bill O'Brien, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine as long as he's the coach. Like, look, I get that they were 0-3 last year, rattled off 9 wins in a row, and it was awesome. But they were also playing shit competition for the most part during that 9-game win streak. I don't want to take away those wins. They earned each and every one of them. But it's not like Bill O'Brien was some savant. Like, yeah, he kept saying next game, next one play at a time, one moment at a time, one game at a time. Awesome motivator. I won't take that away from him. I think his play players really love playing for him. I think he's really good at motivating them to do what they need to do. But outside of motivation, I think he's a terrible coach. I think his offensive game plan is a little bit fucky. I don't think it's perfectly set up for Deshaun Watson each and every week. I don't think there are some times where it seems like he formulates the offense around Deshaun Watson's skill sets, and then there's other weeks where it really seems like he's trying to force Deshaun Watson to be something that he's not. And that leads to holding on to the ball too long. That leads to not being in the position where the offensive line is going to expect him to be. That leads to, Deshaun Watson needs to take some of the blame for last week's loss, because there were throws where he had guys. He has, and he absolutely has. He needs to take some of the blame. He's taken the ownership over it. That interaction at the press conference after the game, where the one reporter asked him, and he like laid out exactly what was happening with the defense and talking about it.
That was the best response to any question that I've heard. Maybe the entire time I've watched football.
Yeah, exactly. His mind, his head is there. His mind is there. So if his mind is there, his work ethic is there, his talent is there, his skill is there. We see it all. What's the thing that keeps getting in his way? To me, it's Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien is not a good coach. Going into last year and throughout last year and at the end of last year, I said, Bill O'Brien's not a great coach, but he's like top. He's like the number 11th, 12th. I'm slowly putting Bill O'Brien in the back half. I'm about to put him in the back third. I get he does things well, but when it comes down to just where Jadeveon Clowney got blamed for bad decisions that he made and stupid things that he did, and that caused them to lose games. It was a major factor in them losing games last year. Bill O'Brien has made decisions this year that have directly led to losses. And honestly, they're really lucky that they're 2-2 right now. They're really lucky that Doug Marrone decided to go for it instead of kick a field goal when his team had all the momentum, because they should have lost that game against the Jags. Right now, the Texans should be 1-3. They should be 1-3, not 2-2. He's really fucking lucky. He snuck out of that one. So right now, Bill O'Brien, he's not even a top 15 quarterback for me, and he's slowly going downhill.
I can't argue with anything that you just said. I got a couple of things. One, about the win over Jacksonville and the Doug Marrone decision. I thought that was terrible. Terrible decision by Doug Marrone in that situation.
Bill O'Brien is just lucky Doug Marrone's dumber than him.
You're given an extra period for a reason. Mm-hmm. There's overtime for a reason. And sometimes you need that extra period to continue the momentum that you've built. And they absolutely had it at that point. So I thought that was a terrible decision. And the Texans were once again gifted their third win in 2 seasons and in 23 game weeks, I believe it is, from that victory in week 2 to the week 4 and maybe the week 6 victories that they got last year to the Colts and the Titans. Mm-hmm. But I will say this too. I think Bill O'Brien is, when you ask the question like why people continue to trust him so much, I don't think it's trust. I think it's kind of like what I was saying around this time last year when the Texans had started 0-3 and people were like, man, this guy needs to go again, because they say it every year. Mm-hmm. This guy needs to go. You have a franchise quarterback. You have a guy that wanted that franchise quarterback. You have a guy that has now built a team around that franchise quarterback, and that the franchise quarterback, and he said as much publicly in the media and didn't have to, wants Bill O'Brien here as his coach. At least he did towards the end of last season, right?
Right. I do think he wants Bill O'Brien, and I think they have a great relationship.
I'll say this. I think it's far less about trust and more about the fear of the unknown and bringing a new guy in. And it's a careful what you wish for situation.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Now they've come out with a list. Thanks Vegas, because there's always something to frickin' bet on. What coach is going to be taking over for Bill O'Brien next year?
David Shaw.
You got all kinds of frickin' dudes. Yeah. Like some dudes that I've never even heard of. Some guy, Byron Leftwich, I think, is on the goddamn list.
Yeah, let's go.
Like holy smokes.
He knows the AFC South.
But yeah, you're right. Sweep the Jags every year, man. I think it's much more about that. It doesn't make it right, and it doesn't make it wrong. Bill O'Brien, and we've been saying it in a roundabout way for about 3 years now, needs to find a way to get out of his own way. Because every year it's an excuse. I meant to do this before I came on your show. This is his 6th year. I guarantee you could go to every single season that Bill O'Brien has coached, and you could pull out a number of things that have been the storyline of the season, right? To major injuries from J.J. Watt and Whitney Mercilus, to the quarterback fiascos of his first 2-3 years here. He did the best with what he had and this and that. There's always a freaking excuse with Bill O'Brien. What's the excuse this year? Well, he's got too much on his plate.
Yep.
No,
that's not good enough. That's not a good excuse.
You know why? Because that was the excuse 3 years ago.
He put this on his
plate.
plate.
He put Romeo Crennel up in the freaking booth and brought Vrabel down as DC so he could have an experienced set of eyes. And we all remember how that worked out.
Yep.
It was probably his worst game managing season of his head coaching career that season. Awful. And he's on pace to have another one this year. It's getting bad. And it's to the point to where you look at this team, Josh, there's no reason when they're healthy, and Kenny Stills is a bigger part of this than any of us could have possibly thought. But they're one of the more dynamic football teams that not only we've ever seen here in Houston, but they're one of the more dynamic football teams in the entire AFC conference. They could be special. They really could be special.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Bill O'Brien's holding these guys back with the idiotic play decisions. I mean, it's almost like he gave you a play card, and you thought they were some really cool-sounding plays, and you were like, let's try this one out. Oh, shit, that involves Hopkins throwing the ball across the field? My bad. You know, where's the back button on this one? It's stuff like that. Game management, clock management, the whole bit. And it comes down to the point to where Bill O'Brien has got to say, somebody's got to talk to the dude. It's my job to put players in a position to be successful. Every single coach will tell you the exact same thing. Every football coach says the same damn thing. It's true. It's my job to put them in a position to be successful. Okay, you did that. But you have to manage the game to do it.
Yep.
X's and O's is one thing. Personnel and health is another thing. But it's about allowing them to play. And when you muck up the game yourself for your team and you take away decisions and flow and momentum with calling unnecessary timeouts, when you need timeouts and you don't have them, that's what mucks up the game and prevents you from taking that next step. It's all on him in that regard.
A quarter of the way through the season, where do you think the Texans rank in let's say total yards, real fast?
Total yards.
Yep. Where they rank?
They got to be like bottom 8.
It's not that bad. They're 21st in total yards. Where do you think they rank in
bottom 11?
Yeah. Where do you think they rank in points per game?
Got to be bottom 8, bottom 6.
No, they're 22nd.
They failed to score 14 points twice.
They're 22nd, but they had one really good game that brings it up to 9. They're averaging 19.5 points right now. But listen to the teams that are below them. The Bills somehow. The Bills are below them, have more yards, but are averaging less points. But then the Steelers, 1-3. The Cardinals, the Falcons, the Broncos, winless. Chicago Bears, Mitchell Trubisky as quarterback. The Redskins, don't know what they have as quarterback. Cincinnati Bengals, winless. New York Jets, the Dolphins, winless. Like, the Dolphins are only averaging 6.5 points a game, by the way. What the fuck? That's insane.
Yeah.
Look, this is where I'm at with Bill O'Brien. It is terrifying to think that you would have to move on to a different coach, and will he be good enough? But all we've known from Bill O'Brien and all we've seen from Bill O'Brien is mediocrity. And right now, and I've always talked about, well, he can get better. Well, he can get better. Well, he can get better. And if they go through this season, and even if they have a 9-7 season and then they're out in the first round, I will be out on Bill O'Brien. And at this point, there's too much talent on this offense to sit there and keep pointing at the offensive line as the problem. The defense has played really well. Whitney Mercilus has been a fucking monster this year. And maybe there's still some problems in the pass defense and in the secondary, but the front seven has been incredible. The front seven has been really good this year. So the defense isn't the problem. So we know the offensive line has some issues, but I think that for the most part they've been okay. They haven't been terrible. They haven't been as bad as they were the last 2 years. They gave up a lot to make them that good. They gave up a lot to make them better, but they are better. But you've got the best wide receiver in the league. You've got one of the best young quarterbacks in the league, a guy who has the talent to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL one day. You've got a guy in Will Fuller who's staying healthy, who hasn't gotten the fucking ball at all this year for the most part. Kenny Stills is incredibly talented. Jordan Akins is having a good year so far. Why do I keep wanting to say Frank Gore? Oh man, running back, not Duke Johnson. Please help me out. My brain died.
Oh, Hyde.
Carlos Hyde. Thank you. Carlos Hyde is having a really good year this year. And what? So like, what? Where's the issues? Like, why are they not getting more yards? Why are they not scoring more points? What's happening? Well, it's the offense. It's not the offensive players. It's the offensive system. It's the offensive scheme. It's the play calling. It's Bill O'Brien. And so if they go 9-7, if they go 8-8, shit, honestly, if they go 10-6 and then they're out in the first round of the playoffs, I'm done with them. I would much at that point after this season, if they don't get a win in the playoffs and the offense doesn't pick it up and he continues to have clock management issues, he continues to make bad decisions in the game, I'm done with him. Like I'd much rather live on the hope of an unknown with all of this talent than continue this path of mediocrity. Yeah. Like, and they're literally, in my mind right now, unless Bill O'Brien does something to change it, which he totally can. My whole thing, I've never wanted to fire Bill O'Brien. And I've talked about this with you. I've talked about this with Jeremy Brandon when we did the Bull Rush at 610. My whole thing is, if you fire Bill O'Brien, what's next? Right? If you fire, and my whole thought was, you don't need to fire him. He just needs to get better. Because that's what people are supposed to do. They're supposed to get better when they suck. And he's not getting better. He's not living up to the standard that he has set for his own players.
Has Bill O'Brien proven that he is head coach material in the NFL?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
He's proven that he's a motivator material, and he's proven that he has a decent eye for talent, but the problem is those aren't enough. You have to do more than that.
I agree. The reason why I asked that is because, look, there's quite simply one of two things that's going to happen with Bill O'Brien when he's not head coach of this Texans team anymore. He's going to go be an offensive coordinator somewhere in the NFL, or he's going to take over a team like the lowly Miami Dolphins.
Oh my God, that'd be so great.
You know what I mean?
What if he became the head coach of the Miami Dolphins after is that his play? Oh shit, we haven't even thought about this. Maybe his play is Miami all along. That's why he traded all those picks to Miami for Laramie Tunsil. Oh no! Why hasn't anybody put these pieces together, Sean? Bill O'Brien's making a play for the Miami Dolphins, and
I set that up for you perfectly, and I did it by accident, but it's a really fun conspiracy theory type of thought. But the only reason why I asked that is because it happens so often. And look, yeah, you make the argument, okay, he's part of the Belichick tree, and we know how that's gone for those guys like Romeo Crennel and Josh McDaniels and Bill O'Brien. There have been countless others, and there's zero success rate when they get a head coaching job elsewhere. Guys get better. Guys get better.
Yes.
And at some point, that chain will be broken. Mm-hmm. At some point, somebody will break through. At some point, and it could be Josh McDaniels. I don't know. Josh McDaniels might be the next head coach for the Houston Texans. I have no freaking clue. But at some point, that chain's going to be broken.
Can I tell you who I think it's going to be? I think it's going to – now, it's not necessarily like he wasn't a coach under Belichick, but he was with Belichick. I think it's going to be Mike Vrabel. And the difference between Mike Vrabel and all of the other Belichickian coaches is every single one of the other guys, Romeo Crennel, whenever he was a head coach, Josh McDaniels, Bill O'Brien, they all try to emulate Bill O'Brien, the personality. But they don't try to emulate Bill O'Brien,
Belichick, the
coach.
personality.
Or they try. All of those guys try to emulate Bill Belichick, the personality, not Bill Belichick, the coach, not Bill Belichick, the talent evaluator, not Bill Belichick, the cutthroat. Because look, I've said this before, and he's been good the last two games. But if if Bill O'Brien really wanted to be Bill Belichick, he would have traded J.J. Watt the fuck away. J.J. Watt wouldn't be on this team if he were Bill Belichick, and he would have gotten talent for it, and he would have found a way to make it work with Clowney, because Clowney looked pretty damn good tonight for the Seahawks. He looked good last week. He looks good again tonight.
They end up losing. Is that game over yet?
I saw the Rams were ahead. I don't know if they lost because
wow, what a game!
Yeah,
what a game. 30-29 Seattle.
Oh my
left
god! Yeah, I was gonna have it on my TV, but I couldn't pull it up. 30-29 Seahawks over Rams right now. I think I told my wife
Rams
to pause
got the ball. Rams have the ball on their own 27, 1st and 10, 1:14 left.
Apparently, outside of the fumble, Todd Gurley's looked pretty good tonight. What I saw, he looked pretty good tonight. But yeah, I think Mike Vrabel is the first person to really go, hey, we're gonna go Moneyball with this defense. And I'm going to bring in really talented guys, not top talent, but they're all really talented, and they're coming in for a specific purpose. And that Titans defense hasn't been terrible. And I think he's going to do a good job of evaluating talent, and he's going to try to become Bill Belichick, the coach and the talent evaluator, versus Bill Belichick, the personality, because Vrabel is very obviously a different personality than Belichick is. He just has a different vibe about him.
He's also a modern day former player.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So there's that relatability. But have you had a chance to read that and I haven't finished it yet, that really interesting piece on ESPN.com about Andy Reid and like the tall tales of all the guys that he's coached with? It's a really good read. It's like the tall tales of Andy Reid, something like that. Just Google it. You'll find it. It's a really long read. I bring it up because in that piece, guys like Steve Mariucci and a number of other former coaches and guys from that tree in the West Coast offense told their stories of it. And there's GMs, current coaches, former players that still say to this day, in whatever their roles are, especially as coaches and GMs, they still reference this book they've dubbed either as West Coast Offense or Stories from Andy Reid or KC Notes. And it's all a part of a tree down the line from the West Coast offense. And one of those guys, I can't remember who it was, that said, you know what, going back to Bill Walsh and that West Coast offense, it was less about a scheme and a system and a philosophy, but more about how to run an organization.
Yeah. And
there's a story about Andy Reid coming into that Kansas City job before he took it, and he brought in a book. It's about 5-6 inches thick. Everything you could think of, not just plays, dude,
porn,
but potential head coaching candidates, potential assistant coaches, potential personnel, this coverage, that coverage, notes from previous speeches that he's heard as a player, as a coach elsewhere.
Jesus.
Anything and everything you could think of. It's like the football Bible, right? And you have to understand, when you were making the point, and the reason why I bring this up about guys trying to emulate the personality of a Bill Belichick, whether it be Romeo Crennel, Bill O'Brien, Josh McDaniels, whoever, right, is from that tree. I think that's kind of part of the deal, but it's who does it best.
Yeah.
Who can transform themselves into that role? Who does it suit, right? Like, you have the greatest actors in the world, and they're given a great script, but they're not all invested,
right?
And they don't become that character. You know, like who was the guy that died that played a great Joker in the Batman?
Heath Ledger.
Right?
Jesus, man, get your pop culture under control. Know your Jokers.
Right?
What are you doing to me, man? It's Heath freaking Ledger.
That story?
Huh?
Do you remember that story?
Yes,
you know,
I
you
do.
get so enveloped in that role that it made him crazy. It drove
Right.
him crazy. And I think that's kind of what's happened to Andy Reid, and it's worked for him. And I was going to bring up, hey, who sucks at clock management and game management that we like to, poke holes in like a little voodoo doll now? It's Bill O'Brien, who used to have that, be the story of their career at one point for many years in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And he still
still
has
in
that,
Kansas
right?
City, yeah.
Andy Reid.
But also, whose offenses, who went to a Super Bowl with Philadelphia, and whose offenses are almost always in the top 10.
I understand.
It's one thing.
But that's the point. You're making the point is that role has suited Andy Reid.
Right.
The first year he took over Kansas City, they went from 2-14 to 11-5. And why? Because he understood not just how to be a leader of men, but he was also that grandfatherly figure and guys that, they would ride or die with. They would always have his back. Bill O'Brien's earned a lot of that trust.
Yeah.
Maybe in a different way. Maybe he's not that grandfatherly guy, but he's that rah, I got your back, ride or
He
die
definitely does that. Yes, he's a
mean?
great motivator, but the issue still remains. He hasn't put the results on the field. Andy Reid put the results on the field. So Bill O'Brien can do all those things and be that. But Andy Reid, he might do all those things and have a flaw here and there. Bad clock management. His legs look like big piles of silly putty. But he puts the results on the field offensively. Look at his legs, dude. There's a picture with all the coaches from like a couple of years ago. It's like they all met up and they're all sitting down and wearing shorts. Andy Reid should have worn fucking pants, man. He wore shorts, and it's just his legs look like piles of silly putty. But he might have those.
Andy Reid reminds me of like every middle school, high school football coach that wore those bike coaching shorts. Yeah. He was that guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You knew it was him.
But he's and he taught like chemistry or some shit like that. He's at least put it on the field. Bill O'Brien hasn't done that in his tenure in Houston. He's been here for a long ass time. And other than like one season kinda, he hasn't really put it on the field. Now, granted, he hasn't had Deshaun Watson the entire time, but he's got him now. He's got a lot of talent around Deshaun Watson, and he's not doing it. So fix it. You got to fix it. Year three. You got to fix it this year. And if he doesn't fix it this year, I would much rather ride on the hope of a new guy than just sit and wallow in mediocrity. Because I've never been I'm a mediocre guy I'm aggressively mediocre in my life. Like everything that I do, I couldn't be more aggressively mediocre, but I'm not okay with it. So I always outkick my coverage is a bad way to put it, but I stretch beyond my mediocrity. I stretch beyond being an average person because I'm not okay with the mediocrity. So be that, Bill O'Brien. You're fucking mediocre right now. You want more than that.
If Bill O'Brien is not a head coach of this team next year, then regardless, you enter into like a new phase, like unknown territory with this organization. Because now you're trusting Cal McNair and that brass to not only hire a new head coach, but probably a general manager who will help you hire the new head coach, a new staff. We've not been here before, dude. I'm sorry to break it to you, but we've not been here before, and that's an entirely new question. Do you and why do you? You're asking the question, why do people still trust Bill O'Brien? What one reason can you give me? Should we trust Cal McNair?
None. I trust him less than Bill O'Brien.
Is he going to hire Dan Reeves to come in and consult because he's done it before? He knows the organization. He knows his way around the concourse. He's familiar with the place. What do they always say? Well, he's familiar with a lot of the people that have been here. He and Jamie Roots go back a long way.
Jesus Christ. I'm going to say, I said this with Clanton 2 weeks ago. Cal McNair is Jim Irsay off drugs. Like, that's all he is. He's just Jim Irsay without the drugs. Like, that stresses me out even more, man. But
that's why I say, like, careful what you wish for, honestly, man. And it's not like, that doesn't mean you have to stay status quo, because status quo isn't good enough. I would even hesitate to say it's mediocre. I mean, you've been the best of one of the worst divisions in all of football over the course of the last 5-6 years. That's what the AFC South has been. I don't care what the numbers, records-wise, say at the end of the year. I care about, like, the quality of competition.
Yeah.
And the quality of competition that came out of the AFC South last year, it was 11-5. They were the Houston Texans, but that was probably one of the worst, most bogus 11-5 football teams that I remember seeing in a very long time.
Right.
The only team that looked more bogus than the Houston Texans did in the postseason was the Jacksonville Jaguars in the second half with Blake Bortles as their quarterback when they ran into the Tom Brady and Bill Belichick buzzsaw 3 years ago.
What I want is a coach who can take the talent of a 2-win team and make them a 5 and 6 win team. And right now, Bill O'Brien's taking the talent of an 11-win team and turning them into an 8-win team. If they didn't have the talent that they have on this team, there's no way the Texans would be a 3 or 4 win team tops. Best case scenario.
Yeah.
Because Bill O'Brien just can't put it together. He is making the team worse right now. I want him to figure it out. I want him to get better because I'm not calling for Bill O'Brien to be fired. I just want him to get better at his job. And I want him to be better at play calling. I want him to be better at decisions. But right now he's making the team worse.
I want to retract my previous statement. I don't want to do the Jacksonville Jaguars like that. I'll go the Tim Tebow-led Denver Broncos like 8 years ago. Yeah. That was one of the biggest jokes of a playoff team that you'll ever see.
But he had those sweet jump passes, man. You can't discard those sweet jump passes.
And who did he throw the deep ball to against the Steelers for that game-winning touchdown in overtime? It wasn't Demaryius Thomas, was it?
I think it was Demaryius Thomas. I think it was. Yeah. Yeah.
Bill
Anyway.
Demaryius.
All right. Well, we're going to end it. We've been on for almost 2 hours now, and I told my wife this. I said, it won't take any more than 45 minutes. Don't worry. We're definitely hanging out. Don't worry, sweetheart. We're definitely going to watch This Is Us tonight, and we can cry together. We went over a bit. So we went 2 hours. So let's make our announcement real fast. So moving forward on the Wasted Talent, this is going to be either called just Wasted Talent, or it's going to be Wasted Talent with Josh Beard and Sean Bajani. Because Sean Bajani is going to be officially joining the show. I know he's got other obligations and other stuff, so sometimes he might just get me solo, or maybe I'll get a guest to come on. But Sean and I miss doing shows together a lot. I miss having somebody that can keep me accountable. I miss having somebody to talk to. So because of scheduling changes and stuff like that, I am officially moving the show back to Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Sean will be joining me on the show. Now, we probably won't go 2 hours every Tuesday and Thursday because that's fucking ridiculous. But especially because I want to play video games and do other stuff, and yeah. But Sean will be joining the show, so it'll be Wasted Talent with Josh Beard and Sean Bajani moving forward. I'm super fucking excited about it because we haven't gotten to do shows regularly. And when we were at 610, we always used look, everybody was cool, right? Like we like everybody there. All the part timers were great, but we always had a feeling like when we worked together, we just always worked really, really well together. And we always had good shows. And now the FCC can't regulate me talking about masturbation, and it makes it even better. So we're gonna.
That's the key to the whole show.
Yeah, that's the key. It's really you talk about sports, I talk about masturbation and how fat I am, and that's the synergy that we've got going. That's what we've got. So moving forward, Sean's going to be on the show as a regular, except for nights where maybe he has to cover a game or do something else, or not, and maybe I don't know, take his wife out on a date, something like that. And I'll do the show solo or with another guest then. But I'm super excited about this, man. I really am.
Me too. And it was a lot of fun tonight. We talked a lot because you and I legit have not talked in weeks.
Yeah.
Much less done a show together and talked about sports and stuff.
It's been like 2 months, man.
Yeah, forever. I've done like 3 shows in probably 3 months. I feel like I don't even know. I've been working way more Texans and Astros these days than anything. So it's good to talk.
That's absolutely criminal, by the way. Absolutely criminal that you haven't been doing shows because I've told you this forever. I mean, you've been at 610 for 10 years now, and you've been a talent. You've been one of the most talented guys there, and I know they know. I get it. You have another job. You have the wife and stuff, but the fact that you're not on the air more just absolutely pisses me off. And I'm not going to say anything bad because you work there still, and you're going to be. I will refrain from saying negative things moving forward, so you don't get in trouble for doing the show with me, because I want you to keep doing the show. I need it to be known that it's absolutely criminal that you're not on the air more.
I will say this: I love the position that I'm in. I would like to be on the air more. There's no doubt about that. But if I was if I would have been full time at any point over the course of the last 6 years, I would have been fired already. You know, it happens. It's a part of the business.
Be optimistic, man. What's this? That's why I'm trying to change the business. That's why I'm trying to become the Vontez Burfict of Houston sports talk. I can never fire myself from my own show, and I won't fire you from your own show either. So that's why it's honestly.
I might fire myself.
I'm not going to fire you. You need to get so much better at the pop culture references, though. We'll do crash courses. Look, if you weren't in the position that you're in now, you wouldn't be able to do this show with me on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I selfishly am very happy that you're in the position that you're in now. So yeah, we're gonna do this.
Man, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, next Tuesday we'll be back at 9:00. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9:00 moving forward. Wasted Talent with Josh Beard and Sean Bajani. It's gonna be a lot of fucking fun, and we're gonna talk sports. We're gonna yuck it up and have like some real good, thoughtful sports talk, and hopefully we won't go for 2 to 3 hours every single time. But I appreciate you guys watching. You can find me at Josh Beard Radio on Twitter. You can find him at Sean Bajani on Twitter. You can also find him at Sean Bajani on Instagram, and you can find me as Toothbeat on Instagram. And if you want to find all the VODs and clips that I'm going to clip up, go to youtube.com/Josh Beard, and you can find the Wasted Talent on there. I appreciate you guys watching, everybody who checked out the show tonight, everybody who commented. I appreciate it. You'll have a good night, and we will see y'all on Tuesday.